How often do you travel? And I don't mean a road trip to Vermont. I mean really travel to a foreign country, somewhere where people speak a different language, eat different foods, have different values. Somewhere where you know you don't belong and could never belong to. It's fun to visit and all and try out all these new things. But how would you feel if your parents suddenly told you one day, "Sweetheart, guess what? We're moving to Bangladesh." Excuse me? Well, that happened to me. And not just once, five. 5 times. In the last 18 years of my life, I have lived in 5 different countries, 2 different continents, and studied in 7 different schools. I'm a cultural freak. For those of you who have lived in one place most or all of your life, you should understand that all that moving around does something to a person. And if you don't understand, that's okay, because that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Third culture kids and why it's difficult to be one. So what exactly is a third culture kid? It's a term I've been familiar with all my life. Coined in the 1950s by social scientists, it refers to kids who have spent a decent amount of their childhood in a country that is not theirs nor their parents'. The first of these 3 countries refers to the parents' country of origin. The second refers to the country the family is currently living in, and the third is a mixture of the other 2, resulting in an unusual culture of the kid's own. This special culture gets increasingly complicated as more countries are added to the list. The majority of kids in these families have parents who are expats or diplomats, so the family is expected to move every 3 to 4 years. The child usually attends an international school while abroad, an English-speaking school that only people with a passport foreign to that particular country can attend, the majority of which, in my experience, would be American or British passports. So here we have this child, born in one place, living in another, with parents from a third, and in such cases as myself, legally part of a fourth. Can you think of how this might affect a person? Let's go through a couple of examples. Number 1, loss of a sense of identity. The worst thing you can ask a third culture kid is the question, "Where are you from?" Every time that question comes up, their mind goes into a state of chaos, confusion, and concern. They are once again reminded of the fact that they don't belong anywhere. They don't have a place to call home. They don't have a favorite sports team or a group of childhood friends. They don't have a home base or cultural roots extending deep into the ground each year they age. No. Those hard-earned roots are yanked out and killed before they even have a chance to bloom. When asked where they are from, third culture kids desperately collect all the scattered pieces of themselves and hastily mush these together to try and give you an idea of who they might be. Issue number 2. The second major issue of being a third culture kid is learning to fit in. Some may argue that they should be experts at adapting, having lived in so many places. They can go from living in an alleyway in China to a high-rise condo in New York City. Yes, in that aspect they are like chameleons. It's easy to switch countries and live in a different environment on the large scale. Food, language, customs, those aren't the big issues. It's the social aspect that's difficult. There's actually 2 reasons for this. The first being the obvious. It's hard to fit into a new culture where everything from current fashion trends to popular television shows and music are different than what you're used to. This one can, with some effort, be made up for in time. The second one, however, is harder to fix. Because third culture kids rarely spend more than 3 years in one place, their friendships are often short-lived and don't last. Over time, they begin to develop a psychological fear of abandonment, and it's harder for them to open up and make new friends. Their thought process goes like this: what's the point? In a couple years, either I'll be gone or you will be. Okay, That gloomy thought aside, let's address some of the positives of being a third culture kid. They get to travel. They get to see the whole world. They get to experience different cultures firsthand, things that some people can only dream of. And it's all for free. Side note, when companies send their employees overseas, they always pay for the house, the car, the school, and most of the time, even a membership at the most luxurious yacht club in the area. So often I hear, "You're so lucky. I wish I was you." I've spent all my life in this dead end town my whole life. Tradesies. Okay, yes. I've seen quite a lot for someone my age. I have a very global view of the world that many people, even as adults, don't have. But here's the key. Is it worth it? Is it worth not having a home? Is it worth giving up your lifelong friendships? Is it worth feeling so lost and lonely all the time? I'll let you think about it. Personally, my answer is no. It isn't. I think it's better to have a place to call home your whole life. Because let's face it, if you didn't have your home, who would you be?